and beverage has been my passion from hotel school. Because my interest was in the culinary before in the hotel school, and I always thought that knowing the food is more important to get into this business, and that's how I evolved and joined the industry, made a career out of it, joined the food and beverage department. And after passing out from school, I did look at big companies who were trendsetters in food and beverage only. And one of them was Hyatt, and it was a very growing company in India at the time when I joined them. And since they were trendsetters in F&B, I evolved with them. I've moved many hotels, worked with many concepts, being Park Hyatt Goa, which was one of the flagship Park Hyatt properties in India, which has got multiple food and beverage concepts. From there, grown within the company from an outlet manager to an assistant director food and beverage, and then felt the need to move into business hotels. And that's when I moved from there to the Hyatt in Calcutta. And also having a little bit of pre-opening exposure, having opened the Park Hyatt in Goa, I moved to this property, which is a big inventory hotel, convention MICE hotel with 451 rooms and very big convention center. Successfully have opened this hotel as a pre-opening team member. Learned many aspects, but the one thing that I have really learned and understood is the companies could have been different, the hotels could have been different, but what matters most is the service aspect and the product aspect of food and beverage, that is food and beverage. And that is the only thing that makes a difference in the hospitality industry. Structures can be different. The hotel might look gorgeous, but if your service standards are not up to the mark, no guest is going to come back to you.
Hi guys, greetings from Lausanne. Today we are at the Beau Rivage Palace with not only one but two F&B experts. Edouard Millet and Charles Balladur are going to show us everything about this fascinating profession. So, let's meet them!
Welcome, how are you?
Hi.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, great pleasure to have you here. Please,
Great.
let's have a seat on the terrace.
It's very general. First of all, it goes from being implied in recruitment to managing and monitoring numbers, and also passing by managing staff and greeting guests, etc. So it's a very extensive list of tasks that you have to be able to organize during your day. So I would say multitasking is one probably of the most important thing you need to know when it comes to managing the operation of food and beverage in a big hotel like the Beau Rivage Palace. Then of course comes your implication with people, which is also another important responsibility on how you manage your relationship. It can be with guests who have specific ways of interacting and understanding how you have to interact with a certain type of guest, to of course managing your staff and having an approach that is adapted to each of your staffs. So I would say those are some of the general responsibilities that you have to be able to show.
our today's episode, you will learn everything you need to know about how to take food and beverage order from guest in restaurant.
Taking an order is a very skillful art which reflects efficiency and standard of both waiter and the establishment. Every food and beverage service staff should have good command over order taking to ensure that each guest gets proper food and in right sequence. Food and beverage order taking tips. A waiter should follow certain tips while taking order from guest. The tips are given in step-by-step procedures in next slides. Tip number 1. First, give time to guests after his arrival to feel comfortable with the environment. Tip number 2. After the guest is seated and feel comfortable, then present the menu and stand away to give guests some time to decide what to order. Remember, don't be hurry. Try to evaluate guest and understand when reaches to decision to order. Tip number 3. When you feel that the guest wants to order, then approach toward him and courteously ask this way: "May I take your order, sir?" Or, "Would you like to order now?" Tip number 4. Before taking order, first ensure that you are fully ready. You have to have a notepad, a pencil or a pen and an eraser to take notes. Tip number 5. Although ordering depends on guest, but try to maintain sequence. That means first convince the guest to give beverage order and then food. Tip number 6. Don't lean too close to the guest, and especially the host is a lady guest, and also don't keep one hand in your back. Stand straight to the left side of the guest and bend slightly forward to guest. Tip number 7. Always focus on what guest orders. It will make guest feel insulted if he has to repeat his order again and again, or if your attitude shows that you are not concentrating to him fully. Tip number 8. It is must for a waiter or server to have full command on the menu items. Guest may ask different types of questions, so be prepared for that. Tip number 9. If guests are uncertain about what to order, then you can show your suggestive selling skill. Hold on. Do not suggest highly expensive foods, which may lead your guest in an embarrassing situation. Tip number 10. Maintain sequence while presenting food in clockwise direction. Write down the sequence of the food and the person who order in notepad. First take order from host and then start following to his right and give an identification number to each guest. Tip number 11. Give proper time to guests to enjoy their beverage items. If the glass gets empty, then you can graciously ask him whether he wants replenishment or not by saying this way: "Would you like to replenish your glass, sir?" Tip number 12. If the guest is in a hurry and seek your assistance, then suggest him some ready-to-serve food items rather cooked-to-order items. Repeat the food items that guest orders and ask him whether he wants to have anything else or not.